Hello and welcome to another Sky Sports Fantasy Football video. As usual, we're back to preview the upcoming game week, which this week is now game week 8. In terms of game week 7, I didn't do too bad, to be honest, but I think you can see it down below, kind of how I got on. Still kind of sitting about the same rank, we're 13k in the first team and 6k in the second team. The second team did do a bit better with 98 points instead of the 91. But you can see in kind of terms of the weekly rank, it's a bit of an average score, to be honest. 60k and 30k in terms of the weekly scores, but for me, I kind of think it was a bit more of an issue with the second team, where I didn't have players that performed that I did in the first team. In the first team, like, I don't have Saka, and Saka obviously scored 2 goals, so that ended up hindering me. But I had the other players that performed, and in the second team I had the likes of Saka and a lot of other players, but I didn't have like Maddison, who would have performed as well, so it kind of evened itself out, and I ended up just with a bit of an average rank. But as usual, we're going to take a look at some of the notes from the previous game week. We're starting off with Polina, who once again got tier 2 tackles. He's now played 4 games and got 23 points in that. I think it's worth as well mentioning that one of those games came on as a sub and get booked, and that was a 0-pointer. So he's really played 3 games and he's got 23 points in that. So I think again, even with the price at 7.9, he's definitely another decent asset especially for the upcoming captaincy against Chelsea, and then obviously they have a captaincy in a couple of weeks against Spurs as well. Kind of gets like pushed to the side a bit with the other teams. Obviously you're probably going to have a Chelsea captain, you're probably going to have a Spurs captain, but he is a decent backup option as well if you don't really want one of those players. We've also got Morris as well, who scored his second goal of the season, which was another penalty, so he has played a lot of games so far, and he has yet to score a goal from open play as well, so it's one to kind of consider if you're going to be looking at him for captaincy against Burnley on Tuesday. He is obviously on the penalties, which is going to be fairly decent, but I wouldn't really be expecting like maybe 2 or 3 goals from him. Kyle Walker as well, looking very, very advanced now. He also picked up an assist at the weekend, and he's probably the best City defender you can get right now. I think he's the second highest scoring defender in the game so far, and he's only 8.6 million for a City defender, which is very, very good. And yeah, I think he's playing every league game for City at the moment. The only issue would be the upcoming games are fairly, fairly difficult for City, so you can't really look to bring him in anytime soon. So as you can see with the notes, it says one to watch. He will definitely be one to keep an eye on when the fixtures kind of turn a bit more. Maybe by then he'll be rotated a bit more, but for now he does look very good. So if you've got him, I'd definitely be looking at keeping him. I think even with the fixtures, at 8.6 you probably just keep, because he looks like he could definitely get some attack and returns, and he is still getting some passes as well, maybe not as many as the other players, but he is definitely capable of picking up the pass tiers as well. Mbeumo picked up tackles tier 1 as well, but he has only picked up 1 attack and return in the last 4 games. It is one to keep an eye out for the captaincy against Nottingham Forest if you don't have a Forest player. And Mbeumo has only really, again, similar to Morris, has only scored 1 goal from open play this season. 2 of his goals have been penalties. Bayer as well, looking like a very, very good option, picking up 101 passes versus United. I think it was, I don't really know his name, if it was Al Dere or something, his centre-back partner, also picked up about 100 passes as well. So something you don't really see, someone, a lower team like that keeping all that possession against one of the bigger teams that are known for keeping possession as well. So I think Bayer definitely is a consideration. Trafford now picking up 69 passes. I think he is the first goalkeeper ever to get pass bonus. He was one off tier 2 as well. But yeah, I've never seen that before, which even shows you even more how much that possession kind of was kept by Burnley in that game. Onana as well saved tier 1 in a clean sheet. I said this in the Q&A with a lot of people asking that. I still think he is going to be very good. Again, you can see that there. I think Onana to Pope was a bit of a luxury transfer. I don't really see anything wrong with keeping Onana. I think he is still getting the saves, we know that. And again, even against a team like Burnley, he's getting the saves as well. So a clean sheet as well. The clean sheets are going to come. A team like United isn't just going to concede every single game. And again, like I said, right now, no one's really keeping the clean sheets. So as long as you're getting a goalkeeper that is saves and has the possibility of clean sheets, I wouldn't be too fussed about that. And again, I really do think Onana is that kind of player. Rice obviously came off at half time, which was unfortunate. Still hasn't trained. This is what Arteta said in the press conference. He doesn't think the injury looks too serious, so hopefully he plays on Saturday against Bournemouth. But in terms of Saka, it was said that he was limping after the match, and it could end up missing Bournemouth, which I think at that point you're going to want Saka back anyway. Even with Man City and Liverpool, I believe it is, coming up in the next few games, you're still going to want him. He can still score in those games. So I think even if he does miss that Bournemouth match, I wouldn't be looking to make that transfer. I think a lot of us have way too many things wrong with our team right now, where taking Saka out is probably just going to be one transfer too much. Then again, the Arsenal fixture run does change in like 1 or 2 weeks as well, and they end up having a good run of fixtures, so you are going to want him back. So I think we obviously can wait on news, and he might still play against Bournemouth. I don't think he's missed a match in like 2 seasons, so I'd be very surprised if he did miss that match through injury. But again, I think even if he does, I would just be holding him there. Chilwell likely to start against Fulham. Obviously, Gusto got a sending off, so Chilwell could play at right back. Colwill could also play as a right back there as well, so I do think Chilwell will start in that game. McAllister and Szoboszlai were both the ones that picked up pass in tier 2 along with Van Dijk this week. None of the other Liverpool defenders managed that, so that's one to consider if you're bringing in a lot of defenders, or a lot of Liverpool defenders for that good fixture run. The likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and maybe Robertson, if you wanted to go over him, maybe wouldn't be guaranteed those pass tiers. Maybe the way that Liverpool's kind of playing right now, the midfielders are going to be those ones picking up the passes. So obviously Van Dijk still did end up getting the passes, so if you're going to go for Van Dijk, at least you can still rely on some passes there. I don't think it's been there as much this season, but again, he is still getting the odd pass tier, so it is one to consider if you're looking to bring in some of those. And then finally we've got the Newcastle guys. Obviously a massive beating to Sheffield United. Isak unfortunately was dropped to the bench once again. I've got him in my second team, and it was just a bit unfortunate. Thankfully he did come on and score, but he did only get 6 points, which wasn't ideal. Again, if he's playing in that game, he probably could have scored 1 or 2 goals, and it's unfortunate to see him on the bench. But I do think the Champions League rotation might be a bit too much. I think I'm going to keep him for maybe another week or two, because there's no real good hop-on points to any players that I want. So I can give it another couple of weeks and see. I don't think he's going to be benched in every single Premier League game, and the fixtures are really good, so I do think he could still pick up some goals. So looking at our captains for this week, we've got 3 single game days. Unfortunately the Sunday doesn't look like it's going to be too entertaining, so we're going to have to find something else to watch then. But in terms of captains, 3 single game days. Starting off with the Saturday, we're obviously going to go with Haaland. I think he just is going to be basically going to be the best captain every single week. That City play Wolves away. It's considered like more of a tough game. Obviously Wolves are a difficult team to play against sometimes, but I really wouldn't be picking anyone else on that day, to be honest. I have went for Saka as well. Obviously we don't know if he's going to play yet, but if we end up getting news for him, I definitely think he could be a decent differential captain against Bournemouth away. Again, if that was at home, I probably would have Saka at number 1 there, but due to it being away, I just decided to go for Haaland. I've also went for Wilson as well. I think Newcastle could get a decent result against Burnley. That could be another couple of goals scored there. Obviously the Champions League will be next week as well, so maybe Isak will be rested again. And I do think if Wilson starts, he will be a very decent captain. We've just seen as well, obviously talking about the Newcastle defenders, obviously they all hauled last week and all got like some sort of passing tier. You just seen with Burnley, they managed 100 plus passes against the likes of United, so I wouldn't expect any sort of passing tiers from the Newcastle defenders this week. Definitely could keep a clean sheet though. but we'll have to see with that. So just one to keep an eye on. I think the Newcastle defenders aren't going to be getting those kind of points every single week, obviously. And you can't really rely on the past here, so you are just going to be hoping for clean sheets. I'm also going to throw out a bit of a differential pick. I don't think anyone should go for him, but I think Kurt Zouma against Sheffield could end up hauling quite nicely. I think West Ham would hope for a clean sheet in that day, and we know how Sheffield are with set pieces. I think it's something like triple the amount as the second place team for chances conceded from set pieces. So I do, you know that Zuma is very dangerous from the likes of corners. So I think that's one of those games where Zuma, even as a captaincy, but just as a general player, could keep a clean sheet and could get a goal in there as well. So when that happens, make sure to think about me, because I said it first. But as well, Ward-Prowse as well, again, we're talking about set pieces. He is on basically every single set piece, so if you're looking for, maybe if you've got Jackson or something, you've got a totally free hit for this week, and any player you want. I do think Ward-Prowse could be very decent, because it then covers a captaincy later on when West Ham play Villa. But looking at the Sunday anyway, we've got Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. I went for Awoniyi as the best captain, purely because Nottingham Forest are at home, and Brentford haven't actually looked too great defensively either, and Nottingham Forest do have a very, very good home record, so I do think Awoniyi just beats Mbeumo in that sense. I went for Alanga as the third place, just because I struggled very hard to find someone as a third place, and again, it is a very open option. I wouldn't go for Alanga. I think if you've not got Awoniyi or Mbeumo, I would probably just skip that. But that's one of those days where I probably would have only picked two captaincies. In terms of Monday, we have Fulham v Chelsea. Again, Chelsea just aren't looking good at all right now, so I went for Thiago Silva, because you're guaranteed the passes from him. So if you're captaining him, you're guaranteeing yourself at least 10 points, and that's basically it, to be honest. I went for Palhinha as well, because Fulham at home, Palhinha is capable of getting a goal, but he feels like another player that is guaranteed at least 5 points there. And again, if you're captain and you're getting 10 points out of him, I do think long term as well, Palhinha could be very decent. The fixtures don't matter, because you're getting tackle tiers from him, and if you're willing to use a midfield spot, obviously the midfield spots are very cramped this year. I think Palhinha could be a very decent option if you really need someone for that captaincy day. The same as again with Jackson, if you're wanting a different captain. I think Palhinha could be a decent option. Then I went for Rob Sanchez as well. Him and Leno are kind of on the same kind of level. Both of them might pick up saves. I think with Fulham being the home team, there's a good chance that Sanchez does pick up saves. But I think Chelsea are more likely to keep a clean sheet than Fulham are. So I've went for Rob Sanchez there. It is a bit of a poor day, to be honest. There's no Chilwell in there. There's no Enzo in there. Just none of them are doing well at all right now. So I think if you don't have a player for that, you could easily skip that. But it's one of those games that I could easily see finishing like 0-0. So I've just went for 3 players that you're going to get tiers from at least. And that way you are guaranteeing yourself at least some points. And then finally with the Tuesday game, Luton versus Burnley, the one we've been looking at for the last couple of weeks. I do think Bayer is probably the best option. I think 6.6 million defender. There is a lack of defenders right now, so if you can get him in and maybe take up that defender spot, it lets you get the likes of Chilwell out if you're stuck on 3 defenders right now. I do think Bayer is a very good option, and I think there's probably again another good chance that game finishes 0-0 as well. Could be a very boring weekend of football, but I think Bayer probably guaranteed himself passes in that game, possibly some tackles, and again a clean sheet as well. I went for Morris. I think Morris is probably the better option than Foster is. Morris has been scoring goals, he is on the penalties, and yeah, I think it probably is better than Foster. You can't guarantee that Foster will start either. Obviously you can wait and see the lineups, but he will be back from suspension in that game, and could end up being a decent captaincy. But again, I think with Luton at home, you're probably better just going with a home striker rather than a away striker. But for me, I think Bayer is easily the best captain on that day. Next up, we're going to have a look at transfers. There is a lot more transfers to make this week, but basically we're just looking at Chelsea players, to be honest. Chilwell, Enzo, Colwell, all getting out for Bayer, I think, could be a very decent transfer. Obviously, we are waiting until the captaincy day, so that is the Monday. And if you're wanting the extra fixture, the only kind of players you can go for is someone from Burnley or Luton. And I don't think someone like Morris is going to be a good long-term option. As I just explained with Bayer, I think he could be good as an enabler and as someone just to fill a defensive spot so that he can kind of get out the poor defenders like Dunk if you wanted to, Chilwell if you wanted to. I do think Bayer is good to kind of fill that spot, at least for a couple of weeks. But I do think long term he is going to be a lot better than the other players. But I do think getting rid of all your Chelsea players is probably going to be the best idea. You can wait and do it next week. I believe they play on the Saturday as well next week, so you can do it for one of the Sunday players next week if you're not wanting a captaincy. But obviously we are just looking at this week. So with Jackson, obviously with like the likes of Rodri, you're getting the cup game included in the suspension. I believe I heard with Jackson, if you get like 5 yellow cards, that suspension has to be served in the league. So even with the cup games during the week, that's not going to count towards his suspension. So if you own him, you're not going to be able to have him as your captain against Fulham. So again, that's one that you can just kind of have a free hit on, as I was speaking about before. So Ward-Prowse is in there. It's only going to cost 0.2 million. I think does look like a very decent option. Obviously, Polina's in there as well. If you do want a captaincy, if Jackson is your only player, I think Polina could be decent as well. There's also Diaby, getting him in early. Obviously, the fixtures look very good for Villa. And they do have that captaincy coming up against West Ham, so if you did want to get him in early, I think that's also a decent option. Again, similarly priced as well. And finally, Mbeumo, basically for the people that don't have a 1A, if you're looking for a captaincy on the Sunday. Finally, we've got Dunk. If you did want to get rid of Dunk, you can utilise a 5 for 2 with Mbeumo or Bayer, or basically anyone that plays on one of the captaincy days this week. I did speak about this in a tweet before. You are looking at Dunk playing against City and Liverpool in these next two after the weekend. So if you wanted to get Dunk out, you could get 5 games out of Mbeumo if that counted as a captaincy. If not, it's a 4 for 2. But you can get 5 games out of Mbeumo with captain, and then you miss out on Dunk playing against City and Liverpool, and then you can always get him back afterwards. It is always a decent option if you've got maybe a couple extra transfers and you're looking for a captaincy as well. I know a lot of people do want to get rid of Dunk, so that's definitely an option for you. The same with Bayer as well. Again, as I said, as long as you're taking him out for someone that you're going to captain on the Sunday, Monday or Tuesday this week, you are getting a 5 for 2. So it's just an extra option for those people who want to do that. I've got Dunk myself. I'm not going to be doing that. I think I've got too many other players I'd like to get rid of in my team, so I'm just going to keep Dunk and hope he gets like 5 points in each of those games. So taking a look at some of our fixture gains this week, again, there's not really going to be too much outside of the guys you're going to be captaining this week. But I'll show you the Dunk one. So obviously you get Dunk against Aston Villa, and then if you want to take him out, we've got Brentford right beside. So you get the captaincy here against Nottingham Forest. Then we scroll all the way down, so you're missing out on Dunk playing against Liverpool at home and Man City away, and you're getting Mbeumo for the captaincy against Forest, against Man United, against Burnley at home, and then against Chelsea after that. And then you can always bring Dunk back for these fixtures. You are going to want him for those fixtures because they are definitely clean sheet worthy as well. So if you are looking to take Dunk out, you're really just looking to miss this period here. I think there's one for Spurs as well if I go here. Again, if you don't want to be bringing in all the Spurs players too early, because you can see there's so many 3 for 1s here. They've got one game here against Luton. Nottingham Forest have a 3 for 1, 4 for 1 if you include the captaincy. Luton 3 for 1, 4 for 1 if you include the captaincy. Chelsea as well, Burnley as well, Brentford as well. But they just have a lot less fixtures than everyone else up until the captain days. So I don't mind bringing in like maybe a Son for the Luton day, because you probably are going to captain him in that day anyway. But I wouldn't like stack up on so many Spurs players really until these captaincy days come about. Looking again at the Chelsea, I don't know, what do we even call it? Chelsea's poor fixtures, we'll look at that. 7 games there basically that they're really going to struggle with, I think. So after Fulham, you are just looking to get rid of them. And again, if you're looking at Jackson, getting him out if you've still got him. In terms of some free hits, you can see with the West Ham fixtures, they are very, very nice, literally all the way up until game week 21, which is the overhaul here. So someone like a Ward-Prowse as well, as I recommended, was decent. Aston Villa 2, very decent fixtures up until about game week 18, if you wanted to go for the likes of Diaby. Again, as I said, there's not too many fixture gains at all this week other than the captaincies. Finally, looking at my team, again, I've already kind of explained how game week 7 went for me. It wasn't really too bad, but I think I'm going to make maybe one transfer in each team. I don't know. I don't want to be making transfers, but the Chelsea guys are just stinking the place up. I'll get Chilwell in both teams, so I think he's going to come out for Bayer, to be honest, in both of these. Bayer. So that's what's going to be my team, I think, this week, and then I'll captain Bayer. I was going to skip it originally, but I think just with the amount of players that I want to get out right now, it does just make sense to cover a captaincy day. And as I said, I do think Bayer is going to be good to just cover a defensive spot, because Chilwell has to come out at some point anyway, and other than Romero, who is Liverpool at the weekend, there's not really any defenders that I'm interested in. So in terms of getting Chilwell out, I think I'm just going to keep him for the captaincy at least, hope that he plays. I do think he probably should start, captain him, and then get him out for Bayer and have another captaincy there. And again, it's just going to be the exact same in the second team as well. Isak's going to come out at some point. Enzo's going to come out at some point. Maybe Enzo out for Son, and then I'd captain Son in this team, because obviously I don't have Maddison here. I think Son or Maddison are the best captain for this Sunday. So I think someone like Enzo, when I free up the money with Chilwell, I can just do Enzo straight to Son, captain him for that day. So that looks like the plan. Isak might come back, or Isak might go out for Rodri. I might keep him until then. We kind of have to see how that goes. But again, I'm not really too happy with him. Awani obviously has to come out in a couple of weeks as well, so it's looking quite tough now. Again, the ranks aren't too bad, and I'm not really too bothered about the ranks right now. It's way too early in the season to be worried about that. But I've got really about 3 weeks to use 2 transfers if I'm gonna kind of like abide by my original transfer plan, and I've got Chilwell, Fernandes, Isak and Awani to come out. I think that's maybe 4 weeks away, so that's not too bad. The goalkeeper transfers went really good. I brought Johnson out in this team after getting 12 points for Martinez, who got 10 points, and I've done the exact same in this team. Johnson out for 12 points and brought him in for Pope for 9 points, so that went well. And then I went Rodri to Maddison in this team, and in this team I went Rodri to Salah and captained them, so that went well as well. So the transfers went decent this week, so even though I'm using the transfers, they are working out quite well. In terms of captains this week, I've not really had a good look at this, to be honest. I probably will end up going Haaland in here. I don't have Saka in this team. I wouldn't go Salah against Spurs, so it's going to be Haaland. Obviously I want to here. Chilwell, unfortunately. I'll have to go with him on Monday, and then on Tuesday I'll end up going for Bayer. So we'll confirm those, and then finally, looking at this team, captains. I'm gonna stick on. I don't know. Nah, I'm sticking on Haaland to be safe. I don't know about Saka. It is a tough one. I'm probably just gonna go with Haaland though. I think it's just the safer bet. And then I'll go with Awani, and then. That's a tough one as well, to be honest. I think I'd probably just pick... If Chilwell's... I don't know. I can wait and see the lineups, of course. I'll stick it on Chilwell for now. If Chilwell doesn't play, at least I know I can stick it on Enzo. But that's pretty much going to be a 4-pointer from both of these, probably. And then, of course, we'll go for Bayer as well there. But that's my team. Again, it's a pretty boring week for me. I think I'm going to go for Bayer, though. I think it just makes sense for my team. I do think a lot of people will skip, and probably should skip. I think the only reason you would go for Bayer is if you're trying to get rid of, maybe like I said with Chilwell, you need another defender kinda, and there's not really any good options. But I think if your team's fine and you're really happy with it, I would just skip the Luton Burnley fixture, because I really don't think you don't really want too many of those players, to be honest. But I'm happy with Bayer and both those teams. Hopefully can pick up some tiers. But yeah, I'm going to end off the video there. I don't really think there's too much else to go off of. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like as well, and subscribe. Obviously we do these every single week. And then we'll have the Q&A out on Thursday. So if you're looking to ask in any questions, make sure to go over to Twitter and ask them tomorrow night. I'll put a post up for that. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.